I woke up from a 3-month coma to find out my daughter-in-law had legally declared me mentally unfit and transferred my entire business empire into her name. I couldn't speak at first. My throat was too dry, my arms too weak, but my mind was screaming. Let me back up. My name's Linda. I'm 62 years old, and, up until last year, I was the proud owner of a boutique flower chain called Lavender and Lace, a business I built from a tiny roadside stand into a statewide brand over 3 decades. It wasn't just flowers. It was my soul, my grief, my healing. I started it after losing my husband at 29. It gave me purpose. It gave my son, Jason, a future. Or so I thought. Jason was all I had. I raised him as a single mother, put every dime I earned into his education, his comfort, his dreams. When he married Mira, I welcomed her with open arms. She was charming, stylish, and full of ambition. Too full, maybe. But I ignored the red flags. I was just happy Jason had someone. About a year ago, I was hit by a drunk driver while walking home from the flagship store. The impact fractured 2 ribs and left me with a head injury that put me in a coma. Jason and Mira were listed as my emergency contacts. That was my mistake. When I woke up, Jason wasn't there. Mira was, in designer sunglasses, scrolling through her phone like she was bored out of her mind. I whispered, Where am I?" She didn't even look up. "Oh, you're awake." No hug, no tears, just cold efficiency. Later that day, a doctor explained that Mira had been overseeing my medical decisions and had filed for guardianship, citing my long-term incapacitation. She had medical power of attorney, she had legal authority, and she'd used it. I wasn't prepared for what came next. Back at home, well, what used to be my home, I found that my name was scrubbed from every document. The storefronts, the business licenses, even the online bios. Lavender and Lace now listed Mira as the founder and CEO. All mentions of me? Deleted. When I confronted her, Mira gave me a tight smile and said, "You've done enough, Linda. It's time to let the next generation take over. You should be grateful we didn't shut it all down." Jason said nothing. He stood behind her like a shadow. My son. My only son. He just looked away. That night, I found myself sitting in a guest room that wasn't mine, in a house that used to be mine, wondering if I'd actually died in that hospital, and this was hell. But the next morning, hell got worse. Mira walked in, sat on the edge of the bed like a queen visiting a servant, and said, "We've decided it's best if you move out. There's a lovely assisted living community just outside town. It's got a garden. You like gardens, right?" I blinked. "Move out?" She shrugged. "You're not contributing anymore. And we're planning to start a family. We need the space. Oh, and we already spoke to the director. You can apply for a reduced rent if you're willing to help with meals and cleaning." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Jason?" I asked, looking past her. He stood in the doorway, arms folded. "It's not permanent, Mom. Just until things settle." Settle? Settle? They'd taken my life's work, my home, my name, and now they wanted to bury me quietly in a facility like I was some unwanted responsibility. But I said nothing, not then, because something inside me had snapped, but not in defeat, in clarity. They thought I had nothing left, that I was weak, washed up, disposable, but they didn't know what I had hidden away. They didn't know about the contract I'd signed just 6 months before the accident. A trademark rights agreement, filed in a separate state, under a different name. They didn't know I was still the only legal owner of the brand name Lavender and Lace. And they definitely didn't know that Mira's little empire was about to come crashing down. Because I was going to take back everything they stole, piece by piece. The moment Mira left the room, I sat there in silence. My hands were trembling, but not from weakness. From rage. From betrayal so sharp it sliced deeper than any physical wound ever could. They were really going to throw me out. The house I'd lived in for 20 years. The business I bled for. The life I had built from scratch after my husband died. All of it, gone. Wiped out like I'd never existed. Like I was a mistake they were trying to clean up. Jason didn't even look at me when they walked out. My son. My only child. I spent the next few days packing my things in silence. I didn't fight them. Not yet. They thought they'd won. That I was too old, too broken, too powerless to do anything but fade away. But while I folded shirts and wrapped picture frames, I was also remembering. Remembering every late night I'd stayed up building the website. Every morning I opened the shop before sunrise. Every client who came in just to see me. Mira never even liked flowers. She used to say they were decoration for people with no imagination. And now she had the nerve to put her name on my brand? When the moving van came, they didn't even help me load. Mira stood on the porch, arms crossed, sipping a green juice like this was just another Tuesday. "You'll be happier there," she said as I stepped into the van. "It's quiet, no stress. Maybe try yoga." I didn't respond. I just smiled. Because I knew something she didn't. See, 6 months before my accident, I'd been approached by a big lifestyle company looking to license my brand. But I wasn't ready to sell. Instead, I worked with a lawyer, an old friend of my late husband, to protect my business name in case I ever changed my mind. We registered the trademark under an LLC in Nevada, outside of Mira's legal reach. The paperwork had never been stored digitally. It was all offline, in a safety deposit box downtown, under my name. They had the storefronts, they had the website, but I still had the name, and I was going to use it. At the assisted living facility, I kept my head down, played the role, smiled at the nurses, helped in the garden, but at night, I pulled out my notebook and started sketching. A new logo, a new concept, a new business, something different, but rooted in everything I loved. I called it The Silent Gardener. I rented a tiny space near the edge of town using my LLC. Found a local artist to paint the sign. Hired a young college student named Brooke to help run the counter. She didn't know anything about flowers, but she was eager, kind, and reminded me of who I used to be. The first few weeks were quiet, and I liked it that way. Then one day, a TikToker walked in. I didn't know who she was at the time, but she filmed the shop, our arrangements, and Brooke talking about grandma-style elegance with a modern twist. She uploaded it that night. By morning, we were viral. Hundreds of thousands of views, comments flooding in, orders from across the state. We sold out of inventory within hours. By the end of the week, local news was calling us the comeback story of the year. And that's when Mira saw the video. She didn't call, she showed up. She stormed into the shop like she owned the place, eyes blazing, voice sharp. "What the hell is this?" she snapped. "You're not allowed to use any part of lavender and lace. I will sue you into the ground." Brooke stepped back, startled. Customers turned. Phones lifted. I stood calmly behind the register, wiping my hands on a towel. "I'm not using your brand," I said. "I'm using mine." Mira slammed a paper down on the counter. "Trademark infringement. Look it up. I own everything now." I smiled. Then I reached into the drawer and pulled out a copy of the Nevada registration. Sealed, stamped, legal. "You own a hollow shell," I said, "but the heart of the business, that still beats in my name." Mira's face went pale. But the real twist, she didn't just lie to the public. She lied on the trademark transfer documents, forged my signature while I was unconscious, and I had the hospital records and the handwriting expert to prove it. She wasn't just about to lose the brand. She was about to go to jail. After Mira stormed out of the shop, I expected retaliation. What I didn't expect was for her to go nuclear. 3 days later, I woke up to dozens of missed calls. Texts, emails. Even Brooke had left 5 voicemails, her voice shaking in the last one. "Linda, it's everywhere. You need to see what she did, right now." I opened my phone and saw the headlines. "Fake florist exposed, the real face behind viral flower shop." There it was. A full-blown PR smear campaign. Photos of me from years ago. One in an apron wiping a counter. Another unloading boxes from a truck. Plastered across gossip blogs and social media pages with captions like, Former housekeeper impersonates founder to cash in on viral fame. Elderly scammer hijacks flower brand, tricks TikTok into thinking she's a legend. But the worst part? A video. Mira had gone on a live stream the night before, painting herself as a victim. She cried on cue, dabbed at her eyes, and told a carefully crafted lie to over 300,000 live viewers. She was my mother-in-law, she sniffled. I loved her like a second mom. But ever since her accident, she's been different, erratic, delusional. She thinks she built this brand alone. She didn't. I did. And now she's trying to steal it from me. It breaks my heart. She even dragged Jason into it. He sat beside her like a wooden puppet, nodding along. We tried to help her. We begged her to rest, but she just snapped. Now she's turning people against us. The comments section was a war zone. Some people called her brave. Others started attacking me, accusing me of manipulation, of elder lies, of trying to sabotage my own family. It felt like being suffocated. But I wasn't going to panic, not this time. I made one call, just one, to a woman named Nadia, a documentary producer and former client, someone who knew the real story behind lavender and lace. She used to come in every week to buy bouquets for her late mother's grave. We'd talk, share stories, cry together sometimes. She was kind, real. Nadia didn't even let me finish. Linda, let's blow this wide open. Within 24 hours, we set up cameras inside the Silent Gardener. We filmed everything. The history, the timeline, the receipts, the original store ledgers in my handwriting, even old footage from local news channels who'd interviewed me back in the early days. I sat in front of the camera and spoke with nothing but truth. No tears, no rehearsed lines, just decades of sacrifice and betrayal pouring out of me. Then Nadia dropped the final piece. A whistleblower. One of Mira's former assistants, fired 6 months ago, came forward anonymously. She had voice recordings, emails, and a chilling written script Mira had prepared for her live stream, rehearsed down to the very last line of fake emotion. Nadia edited the footage overnight. The next morning, she uploaded the full exposé to her channel with one title: The Real Founder. How one woman was erased from her own legacy. It exploded. Over 1 million views in 12 hours. And then came the twist. Just as Mira was preparing for another live broadcast to defend herself, her own assistant uploaded a new video, this time with her face and name revealed. She held up a contract Mira had forced her to sign, an NDA full of threats and penalties, and then dropped a bombshell. Mira never built anything. The entire pitch deck she used to land investors was stolen from Linda's original documents. She even photoshopped her name over the old blueprints. Jason helped her forge signatures on the trademark transfer forms while Linda was still in the hospital. The comment section detonated. Arrest them. I hope Linda sues them into the ground. This is elder exploitation at its worst. Imagine erasing the woman who saved your life. By nightfall, Mira's sponsors pulled out. Her flower chain's Yelp pages were flooded with one-star reviews. News outlets picked up the scandal, and a quiet investigation was suddenly reopened into the fraudulent transfer of intellectual property and forged legal documents. But the real shock came when I opened my inbox the next morning. An email from Jason. Mom, I need to talk to you. Please. It's about Mira, and something you never knew. The moment Jason's email landed in my inbox, I knew something was off. After everything he and Mira had done, after they erased my name, forced me out, and publicly humiliated me, he suddenly wanted to talk? Not a chance. But I was curious. So I told him to meet me at a neutral place, the community garden behind the old cathedral downtown. Wide open, public, and just quiet enough. He showed up 10 minutes late, wearing sunglasses like a washed-up celebrity, looking around like he expected paparazzi to jump out of the hedges. His posture screamed guilt. Mom, he began, forcing a smile. I'm sorry about everything. I didn't know what Mira was planning. She told me it was all for us. That you wanted to retire. That you'd agreed I said nothing. He continued, a little more desperate now. I didn't know about the forged documents until recently, I swear. And Mira, she's not the same anymore. She's been panicking ever since that documentary aired. Sponsors pulled out. Our credit lines are frozen, and now she's... I cut him off. What do you want, Jason? His eyes flickered. There it was. She wants to settle privately, he said. We can't survive a full investigation. If this goes to court, we'll lose everything. But if you agree to a quiet resolution, maybe we can protect what's left. We'll give you partial shares. Publicly acknowledge your role. Rename the brand to co-founders. We can fix this. I laughed. It wasn't a bitter laugh. It was clean. Cold. Final. Jason, I said, leaning in. I'm not here to fix anything. I'm here to finish what you two started. I stood up and walked away without another word. I had heard everything I needed. That night, the final phase began. With Nadia's help, we submitted every piece of evidence to the state attorney. The forged signatures, the fake transfer documents, the assistant's testimony, and the original LLC filings that proved I was the sole owner of the trademark from day one. Then I pulled the biggest trigger. I filed a cease and desist on the use of the Lavender and Lace brand name, citing illegal transfer of ownership and trademark violation. Overnight, every storefront using my brand was hit with takedown orders. Mira's flagship locations were forced to take down their signs. Their website domain was suspended. Online orders were frozen. Vendors began pulling inventory. The payment processor cut ties within 24 hours due to potential legal risk. And as if fate had been waiting for my move, the housing market shifted. I had been keeping tabs on their finances through public records. Jason had mortgaged their personal home to fund a recent expansion. With their business now shut down and cash flow halted, the bank moved quickly. Their house was officially in pre-foreclosure. Mira tried to go live again, but this time the platform's terms had changed. After several policy violations related to misinformation and harassment, her account was permanently banned. Jason tried to start a GoFundMe. It was flooded with people dropping angry comments, linking the documentary, and calling out his lies. The campaign was shut down for suspicious activity, and just when I thought I'd seen the last of it, I got a call from my lawyer. You might want to sit down, he said. I didn't like that tone. Jason just tried to liquidate your original LLC, he continued. He used a forged POA document again. But this time, he failed. The bank flagged it. But what's worse? Mira didn't just forge your signature back then. I frowned. What do you mean? She tried to file a will too, one that declared you dead. I froze. She wanted to declare you legally deceased after the accident. The only reason it didn't go through is because the hospital refused to sign off. But she tried. If you'd stayed in a coma another month, they would have had full, irreversible control over everything you ever built. I couldn't breathe for a moment. They hadn't just betrayed me. They had prepared for my death. The moment my lawyer told me Mira had tried to file a will declaring me legally dead, something inside me snapped. They hadn't just erased me from my company. They hadn't just thrown me out of my home. They were ready to bury me alive for a few extra zeros in a bank account. And they would have done it. If I hadn't woken up when I did, Mira would have owned everything, my brand, my business, even my story. Jason would have stood right beside her, mourning in front of the cameras, while quietly signing over my life's work to investors. That was the final straw. I called Nadia, and we planned one last move. A live press conference, streamed to the same platforms where Mira once cried crocodile tears. This time, the tears would be real, but they wouldn't be mine. I rented out the local civic auditorium and sent out public invitations. I knew people were watching, following every twist. They wanted an ending, so I gave them one. When the lights came on and the cameras rolled, I walked up to the podium with steady steps. The room was packed. News crews, reporters, former employees, customers, even a few of Mira's old sponsors sitting in the back with folded arms and tight jaws. I didn't prepare a speech. I spoke from the truth. I told them everything. How I started lavender and lace with a paper notebook and a folding table. How I raised my son alone and trusted the woman he married like my own daughter. How they used my accident as a business opportunity. And how, while I lay unconscious in a hospital bed, Mira was busy faking documents to take my company, my house, and even my identity. I played audio from the assistant's testimony, showed scanned documents, legal filings, the fake will, the forged signature, and then I dropped the final bombshell. The security footage. Yes, Mira had been caught on video at the courthouse, standing in front of a clerk with a fake will in one hand and a fraudulent power of attorney in the other. I had obtained it legally through public records. The timestamp matched the exact week she had told the world she was praying for my recovery. The crowd gasped. Reporters scrambled to write. And then I invited the district attorney on stage. She confirmed that formal charges had been filed against Mira for attempted fraud, identity falsification, and conspiracy to commit financial theft. Jason, while not directly named in the will, was also under investigation for aiding and abetting. Mira was arrested that same afternoon. They found her hiding in a rented apartment under a fake name, clutching a suitcase of cash like some second-rate movie villain. Jason tried to deny everything, claimed he had no knowledge, but emails leaked. Bank transfers surfaced. His signature was on half the paperwork. Within a week, he was fired from his new job. Their joint accounts were frozen, and the foreclosure on their house finalized. The same house I once bought for them in full, using my own retirement savings. They lost it all. The brand was restored to me, but I didn't reopen the business. Instead, I sold the rights to a women-led floral cooperative I trusted. They now run it with integrity, heart, and creativity, everything Mira never had. As for me, I moved to a quiet seaside town, opened a small workshop where I teach flower arranging to kids and seniors. My days are slow, my nights are peaceful, no more signatures, no more board meetings, no more betrayal. Sometimes people ask me if I ever hear from Jason. I do. He sends letters every few months, apologies, explanations, pleas. I never open them, because here's what I've learned. Some wounds don't need closure, they just need distance. And no amount of blood ties will ever justify someone trying to kill you, on paper or in spirit. Comment the number 6 if you believe betrayal deserves consequences, and subscribe for more true stories that hit you in the heart.